the one piece of career advice you wish someone had given you when you were starting out?
So before I answer this question, I have to say as a disclaimer that I don't think when I started was in my 20s, I don't think I would have listened to people's advice. I think because I was not a very good listener, and maybe, when you're younger, your ego is less mature. You're less mature and all that. So, but one of the things, in case I was, if I was listening and I could have taken a piece of advice, I think I wish someone would teach me or coach me in how to be accountable. So that is a concept that to me didn't come on too much later in life. And why is accountability a good thing for people to learn when they're young? I think it helps you get out of that mindset of victimhood sometimes, pointing the finger, not really seeing your responsibility in the situations that you find yourself, even if you're not the person that started things. Sometimes if you're in the middle of something, you need to take action and help solve things and things like that. So I think that kind of accountability mindset help you, as I've mentioned before, take action, have better control. For example, in this case, you don't need to wait for people. And this is not this. I think sometimes it's very natural that sometimes you wait for someone. You want to finish something, a piece of work, or you're waiting for something to be delivered. And sometimes you wait for the person, and then if you have this kind of victim mindset, you're like, oh, you're just waiting for that person to fail. So you say, you see, I told you so, or so in this case, that accountability, when you're like, well, my objective is actually deliver this. So if you see that the person is not, someone that you depend on is not responding or something, you can go in and be more proactive and check with the person and say, well, are you okay? Do you need help? Let's do this. Or in the other hand, you can also manage expectations with whomever is waiting for you. You can just go and say, look, very early, well, I have all these blockers. How do we do, how do we work this around? And then the other thing that I think is very important when you have this accountability mindset is your own work improves in terms of quality. Things are, to me, I found myself once I started getting into this, that you don't do things as a box ticking exercise. It doesn't make sense. You own your work in a much better way. So you want to do a good piece, or you want to not suddenly leave something, and then when people ask you, why is this like this, and you're like, whatever. So I think it has changed, but I think it also it's part of maturing too. So it's a little bit tricky. I don't know how can you get through this, or I don't know how I would have been able to learn this at a much younger age, but that would have been the advice.
Can you share a pivotal moment in your career journey that made a significant impact?
Yes. So one of the things, I think I have several, but one that has really changed the way I've worked and do a lot of things is learning how to do book clubs. So this is very, very interesting because it ends up even becoming something that helped me in a technical way. So when I started in my previous company called Ansoara, in Ansoara at the time we had a quarterly book club that the company actually gives you a Kindle when you start, so then you can get the books that the company want everyone to read and all that. So at that time what we were doing is that there were specific books that per quarter that the company wanted us to read, either to get up into a certain behavior or develop certain mindset or even learning certain things. And one of the things that I've never done anything like that. One of the valuable things that I saw in here was that, so the mechanism for the book clubs was that you would go and you would read maybe a chapter, and then you would meet with people and discuss the chapters or answer questions and things like that. And one of the valuable things that I learned from this was that, one, if you learn just a short piece, like maybe 20 pages or something like that, that's knowledge, or that's content that you can remember. Like that's content that you can remember. So you read it, you reflect a little bit, all that, and then you come in and you go and meet with people, and then you share your piece, or you listen to others, and you're like, oh, I hadn't thought about it. So then that gets reinforced, and then everyone talks about it, and then that kind of like gets better internalized, because maybe in some cases, if the concepts are something that you can apply right away, maybe with your team, with other people, you might be talking about it, or you might be using similar language, and then that gets repeated, next week, maybe building on the previous concepts. And I think that, to me, it was such a good way to learn and to internalize that knowledge. Sometimes when you happen, like I think I've done book clubs in the past that were in a different way, that you go and read a whole book, and then you come and discuss the book, like you don't remember even, like, you remember the beginning, like bits and pieces. So even the funny thing that house has changed, because now I do this, and I followed up afterwards, even doing technical books with people. And while technical, like learning is different, because you need to do things too. Like it's not just a theory or these discussions, but you need to get hands-on. It does help a lot. It helps a lot learning concepts and, sharing experiences and things like that. And even now, afterwards, I actually now run some book clubs at Lendi. That's my favorite tool. But even in a personal way, like the way I have understood how these things work, like if I'm reading like a nonfiction book, for example, I try not to binge it. I try to read like a chapter a week or things like that. So then I can keep that knowledge and I can remember it. And then so like it takes a while. And sometimes that allows me to maybe be able to read like more than one book at a time. But it's a good thing, to I think it suits me. Like obviously this is not for everybody, but it suits my way of learning and my way of thinking, that I learn a lot by reflection. In meetings, I always tell people, don't try to get an answer from me right now, because I need to think about this, and I will give you an answer tomorrow. So yeah, that I think that is a very pivotal moment, because it definitely changed the way I learn, the way I work, the way I help other people learn too, and all that.
How do you approach challenges and setbacks in your professional life, and what's your go-to strategy for overcoming them?
So I think like I split them. I was thinking about this, and I would split them into let's say the personal ones. Like, they still professional, but sometimes they're more personal, and some are more, like we need to solve a problem in the company as a team. I think in both cases, I am a person that is very collaborative, and I always seek opinions from the team, input. Not necessarily that people decide for me, but I want to get different points of views of what I'm thinking and all that. So I try to go and validate observations and like see if I'm looking at the same thing, or what I'm looking at is actually something that other people look at, like if my perceptions are real or not. So I think that's one aspect. Like I try to validate my observations, and then I ask for people, well, what do you think? And then from there as well, like, I have my own opinions, but I try letting other people tell me, or not try. I make a big effort to do that. So then I can compare, and then we can discuss an approach. Sorry, my phone doing it. So we can discuss an approach. In some cases, for example, when it's a personal thing, and I'm having a setback or disappointment in something, what I do if I have a lot of thoughts, I write them down and try to organize them. I don't journal, I should do it more, because I've seen that's like a very big advice from people, but I don't do it very often. But sometimes I do it if I need to organize my thoughts and start looking at the situation from different points of views. One thing personally that I learned from a book actually called Emotional Agility is that sometimes you get hooked on to your own in your own stories. Like you think about, oh, like this happened because this person doesn't like me, or because they don't appreciate me, or because whatever, and then you need to kind of stop and realize what is fiction, what is the thing that you're making, like that you're creating yourself from what is fact. Because facts sometimes are much simpler, and people are like, no, nothing personal, I just forgot about you, whatever. So I think like we need to, it's very important to not get hooked onto these stories, because otherwise you just get over, like you overthink things. You might end up going to that victim mindset that I was talking before. So like being very disciplined about this is also like a mindfulness thing, like that if you catch yourself thinking, like unraveling that like those stories, like stop and writing down things work a lot, because then you have, maybe you try to sort out the facts, you dedicate time to focus and to think about the problem. And then, whether it's something that is a business or personal, after you identify the issues, and then you talk to people, maybe you get some actions from there. You say, well, this is the issue. What can I do to work around it, to mitigate it, to address it? And then similar to when you're identifying the issues, if it's possible, go with other people and kind of like get points of views and say, well, what do you think? When it's a personal thing, my partner is the person with whom I trust a lot, because I know that she would tell me the truth. And at work, I have a group of people that would be very, like they are a group of trusted people that would tell me, honest feedback or honest opinions about what they think. So that is the way that I do it.